He makes $40 million a year. He's performed in front of millions of fans. But when Kyrie Irving stepped into Judge Hayes' courtroom, none of that mattered. What happened next proves that some battles can't be won with money or fame. This is the story of what really went down when basketball's most controversial superstar met his match in a Brooklyn courthouse. It started on a Tuesday night in October. Kyrie Irving was driving his custom Lamborghini Urus through downtown Brooklyn after a team dinner. The car was worth more than most people's houses. $300,000 of Italian engineering wrapped in matte black paint. Kyrie was on his phone, talking to his business manager about his latest investment in cryptocurrency. He was multitasking, as he always did, steering with one hand, gesturing with the other, his mind racing through numbers and deals that would make him even richer. The speed limit on Atlantic Avenue was 25 miles per hour. Kyrie was doing 55. Officer Maria Rodriguez had been patrolling the stretch for 8 years. She'd pulled over plenty of expensive cars driven by wealthy people who thought the rules didn't apply to them. But when she clocked the Lambo at more than double the speed limit, weaving between lanes without signaling, she knew this was different. The traffic stop was routine at first. License, registration, insurance. Kyrie handed over his documents with the casual arrogance of someone who'd never faced real consequences for anything. "Mr. Irving," Officer Rodriguez said, reviewing his license, "I clocked you at 55 in a 25 zone. You were also using your phone while driving and failed to signal multiple lane changes." Kyrie barely looked up from his phone. "Yeah, whatever. How much is the ticket?" "Sir, this isn't just about a fine. Reckless driving at this speed is a criminal offense. I'm going to need you to step out of the vehicle." That's when Kyrie's casual indifference turned into something darker. "Criminal offense? Do you know who I am? I'm Kyrie Irving. I play for the Brooklyn Nets. This is my neighborhood." Officer Rodriguez had heard it all before. "Mr. Irving, I need you to step out of the car. Now." What happened next made it clear this wasn't going to be resolved with a simple ticket and a celebrity photo op. Kyrie refused to exit the vehicle. He demanded to call his lawyer. He started live streaming the encounter on Instagram, telling his 15 million followers that he was being harassed for driving while successful. The video went viral immediately. Free Kyrie started trending. Fans showed up at the scene. The simple traffic stop became a media circus. When backup arrived and Kyrie was finally arrested, he was charged with reckless driving, resisting arrest, and obstruction of justice. The Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, tired of celebrities getting special treatment, decided to make an example. Kyrie Irving, who had never been held accountable for anything in his adult life, was about to face Judge Patricia Hayes, a woman who had been making millionaires face reality for 2 decades. Judge Patricia Hayes didn't care about basketball. She didn't follow the NBA, didn't know about Kyrie's championships, and had never heard of his controversial opinions about vaccines or flat earth theories. What she did know was law and respect, and the fact that her courtroom was the one place in Brooklyn where money and fame meant absolutely nothing. At 58, Judge Hayes had seen it all. Wall Street executives who thought their bonuses put them above the law. Real estate moguls who tried to buy their way out of consequences. Entertainment industry figures who assumed their celebrity status would shield them from justice. She had a reputation throughout the New York court system. Attorneys called her the equalizer. Not because she was harsh, but because she treated everyone exactly the same. Rich or poor, famous or unknown, everyone stood equal before her bench. Judge Hayes had grown up in the same Brooklyn neighborhoods where Kyrie now lived in luxury. She was the daughter of a subway conductor and a school teacher. She'd worked her way through law school at night, clerked for federal judges, and spent 15 years as a prosecutor before being appointed to the bench. She understood the streets, but she also understood that justice meant applying the same rules to everyone. The morning of Kyrie's hearing, Judge Hayes reviewed his file. Multiple traffic violations over the years, all dismissed or reduced through expensive lawyers. A pattern of behavior that suggested someone who had never faced real consequences. She also reviewed the arrest video that had gone viral. Kyrie arguing with officers, claiming special treatment should apply because of his status, live streaming the encounter while refusing to comply with basic police instructions. Judge Hayes had made her decision before Kyrie ever walked into her courtroom. This would be the day someone finally held him accountable. But she had no idea how explosive that accountability would become. Brooklyn Criminal Courtroom 4B wasn't designed to impress anyone. Gray walls, fluorescent lighting, worn wooden benches that had seen decades of defendants, victims, lawyers, and families seeking justice. For Kyrie Irving, walking into that courtroom was like entering an alien world. At Barclays Center, everything was designed around him. His locker was custom built. His pregame routine was choreographed to his exact specifications. Thousands of fans chanted his name, wore his jersey, treated him like basketball royalty. But in Judge Hayes' courtroom, he was just another defendant. Kyrie arrived in a $5,000 designer suit, flanked by 3 expensive lawyers led by Marcus Goldman, a white-collar defense attorney who specialized in getting rich people out of trouble. Goldman had a 90% success rate at keeping his clients out of jail, mostly because he knew how to work the system. The media was there in force. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but reporters packed the public gallery. TMZ, ESPN, local news stations, everyone wanted to see how this would play out. Kyrie took his seat at the defendant's table with the casual confidence of someone who had never lost a battle that mattered to him. In his mind, this was just another obstacle to overcome, another system to manipulate with the right combination of money and influence. When Judge Hayes entered the courtroom, something subtle shifted in the atmosphere. She was smaller than Kyrie expected, maybe 5 feet 4 inches without her robes, but there was something in her bearing, in the way she commanded the space, that made the entire room focus on her immediately. "All rise for the Honorable Patricia Hayes," the bailiff announced. Judge Hayes took her seat at the bench, surveyed the courtroom with sharp eyes, and immediately focused on the defendant's table. "Mr. Irving," she said, her voice clear and direct, "remove your hat." It was a simple request, standard courtroom protocol that applied to everyone. Men removed their hats, women removed sunglasses, everyone showed basic respect for the proceedings. But for Kyrie Irving, who had spent his entire adult life being told he was special, being asked to follow the same rules as everyone else felt like an attack on his identity. He was wearing a custom Nike beanie, not just any hat, but part of his signature line, worth $200, embroidered with his logo. In his world, that hat represented his brand, his success, his refusal to conform to other people's expectations. "I'd prefer to keep it on, Your Honor," Kyrie said, his tone casual but firm. The courtroom went completely silent. Judge Hayes looked at him for a long moment, and Kyrie could see something calculating behind her eyes. "Mr. Irving, in my courtroom, men remove their hats. This is not a request. It's standard protocol that applies to every defendant who appears before me. With respect, Your Honor, this hat is part of my religious expression. I shouldn't have to remove it." It was a lie, and everyone in the courtroom knew it. Kyrie had never claimed the hat had religious significance before that moment, but he was testing the system, seeing if his fame and expensive lawyers could bend the rules in his favor. Judge Hayes had dealt with this type of manipulation countless times before. "Mr. Irving, if you have a genuine religious accommodation request, your attorney should have filed the appropriate paperwork prior to this hearing. Since no such filing was made, I'll ask you one more time. Remove your hat." The tension in the courtroom was palpable. Reporters were frantically taking notes. The lawyers were whispering urgently. Everyone could sense that this moment would determine the tone for everything that followed. Kyrie looked at his lead attorney, who nodded slightly, a signal that he should comply. But Kyrie Irving had never been good at taking signals from coaches, teammates, or anyone else who tried to tell him what to do. "I'm going to keep my hat on," he said, crossing his arms. "This feels like harassment." That's when Judge Hayes showed why she had earned her reputation. Judge Hayes set down her pen and looked directly at Kyrie Irving. "Mr. Goldman," she said to Kyrie's attorney, "please advise your client that contempt of court is a serious charge when defendants refuse to follow basic courtroom procedures." "Your Honor, my client is expressing his constitutional rights. Your client is testing my patience. The hat comes off, or Mr. Irving spends the weekend in holding." Kyrie had never been spoken to like this. Judge Hayes represented authority that couldn't be bought or escaped. "This is ridiculous," Kyrie said loudly. "I'm being treated like a criminal for wearing a hat. This system is designed to humiliate people." Judge Hayes had seen defendants rage before, but rarely someone so oblivious to their privilege. "Mr. Irving, you're here because you drove double the speed limit while using your phone, then resisted arrest. These actions brought you here, not your hat." "I was barely speeding." Kyrie shot back. "I was profiled for being a successful black man driving an expensive car." Judge Hayes, also black and experienced with real discrimination, recognized the manipulation. Officer Rodriguez's report shows 55 miles per hour in a 25 zone while using your phone. These are objective violations unrelated to your race or success. "She targeted me because of who I am. This is about taking down a successful black athlete." Judge Hayes reached her limit. "Mr. Irving, lower your voice, remove your hat, and show proper respect. If you can't do that, I'll hold you in contempt." Kyrie looked around at his panicking lawyers, at documenting reporters, at the watching gallery. Then he stood up. "This is bullshit, Your Honor. This system tears down people like me. You want me to bow down, but I'm not doing it." The words echoed like a gunshot. "Your client just used profanity and accused the justice system of targeting him," Judge Hayes said to Goldman. She looked at defiant Kyrie. "You have 10 seconds to apologize, remove your hat, and sit down. Otherwise, you'll spend 48 hours in jail, considering if your attitude is worth additional charges." For the first time in years, Kyrie Irving felt genuinely afraid. But fear and wisdom are not the same thing. Instead of backing down, Kyrie Irving doubled down. "You want an apology? I'm not apologizing for telling the truth. This system is corrupt, and I'm not playing along with it." He pulled out his phone and started recording. "Y'all need to see this. Judge trying to intimidate me for keeping my hat on." Judge Hayes had seen enough. "Bailiff, take Mr. Irving into custody for contempt of court." The courtroom erupted, but Kyrie wasn't done. As the bailiff approached, he backed away, still filming. "This is insane. I'm being arrested for wearing a hat. This judge is on a power trip." "Mr. Irving," Judge Hayes said, "put the phone away and comply with the bailiff. You think because you wear that robe, you're better than me. I make more in one game than you make in a year, and you're trying to humiliate me over a hat?" Judge Hayes had never seen someone so completely convinced of their own superiority. "Mr. Irving, you seem to believe that your salary and celebrity status place you above the law. You're about to learn otherwise." Kyrie was still recording, still convinced he was the victim. "This is harassment. Everyone watching needs to understand what they do to successful people who don't bow down." Judge Hayes made her decision. "Mr. Irving, you're held in contempt of court, 72 hours in county holding." Kyrie's face went white. That's when he completely lost control. "You're nobody. You're a nobody judge trying to make yourself feel important by attacking me. I've achieved more than you ever will." "Bailiff," Judge Hayes said, her voice steady, "remove Mr. Irving from my courtroom." As Kyrie was led away, still shouting, Judge Hayes delivered her final response. "Mr. Irving, the law doesn't care about your jump shot. Fame doesn't grant immunity from consequences, and money doesn't buy respect. It's earned through character, something you've demonstrated a complete lack of today." The video went viral within minutes. Kyrie's Instagram livestream captured everything: his defiance, his insults toward Judge Hayes, his complete meltdown. But unlike his previous controversies, this couldn't be spun away. The video showed a millionaire athlete having a tantrum because he was asked to follow the same rules as everyone else. The Brooklyn Nets went into crisis mode. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver issued a statement. "The league is deeply concerned by Mr. Irving's behavior. Such disrespect for our legal system is unacceptable." In county holding, Kyrie experienced something new, being treated like everyone else. No special meals, no private cell, no phone access, just a standard cell and 72 hours to think about his choices. His cellmate was Marcus Williams, arrested for driving with a suspended license because he couldn't afford old tickets. "You're that basketball player," Marcus said. "The one crying about wearing a hat in court." "I wasn't crying," Kyrie said defensively. "I was standing up for my rights." Marcus laughed. "Man, Judge Hayes is tough but fair. She don't care if you're rich or poor. You disrespect her court, you gonna learn. She was on a power trip." "Nah, bro, she was trying to teach you something you never learned. Respect." Over 3 days, Kyrie got an education money couldn't buy. He learned what powerlessness felt like, what it meant to have no control, no escape routes. Meanwhile, the legal consequences mounted. The DA announced they'd pursue all original charges plus contempt. On the 3rd day, Kyrie was brought before Judge Hayes again. When Kyrie returned to Judge Hayes' courtroom after 3 days, everything had changed. He looked different. Designer suit gone, replaced by orange jail clothing. The defiant attitude replaced by something closer to humility. "Mr. Irving," Judge Hayes began, "the court-appointed psychiatrist determined you are fit to proceed. However, your behavior raises questions about your understanding of appropriate conduct." This was Kyrie's moment. His lawyers had coached him. Apologize, show remorse, demonstrate growth. But when Kyrie stood, something unexpected happened. Instead of a rehearsed apology, he spoke from genuine experience. "Your Honor, I want to apologize not just for my language, but for my complete lack of understanding about what this courtroom represents." Judge Hayes studied his face, looking for manipulation. What she saw was genuine humility. "I spent 3 days in county holding and met people who face real consequences every day. People who don't have teams of lawyers or millions to shield them from reality." He paused. "I realized my whole life I've been surrounded by people who tell me I'm special, who make exceptions for me, who let me believe the rules don't apply to me. I was wrong about you, Your Honor. You weren't trying to humiliate me. You were trying to teach me that respect isn't demanded because of status. It's earned through character." The courtroom was silent. "I don't expect forgiveness or special treatment. I just want you to know those 3 days changed my perspective." Judge Hayes had been prepared for defiance or calculated apologies, but genuine insight? That was rare. "Mr. Irving, accountability isn't about punishment. It's about learning. The question is whether you'll take these lessons beyond this courtroom." She looked at the charges: reckless driving, resisting arrest, obstruction, contempt. "Here's my ruling. For contempt, time served. For reckless driving, maximum fine, 200 hours community service with at-risk youth in Brooklyn, driver safety course." Kyrie nodded. "For resisting arrest and obstruction, suspended pending completion of community service. Fulfill these obligations, and those charges will be dismissed." It was fair. Consequences with opportunity for redemption. "Mr. Irving, your community service will be in the same neighborhoods where you were arrested. You'll work with kids who look up to athletes like you." She leaned forward. "You have a platform reaching millions. How you use it going forward will determine whether this was a learning opportunity or just another scandal." As the hearing concluded, Kyrie approached the bench. "Your Honor, I know I don't deserve to ask anything, but I have one request." Judge Hayes raised an eyebrow. "I'd like to write you a letter after I complete my community service, not for legal reasons, but because I think you'll want to know whether the lessons from this courtroom actually stuck." For the first time, Judge Hayes smiled slightly. "I'd like that, Mr. Irving, very much." 6 months later, Kyrie Irving was a different person. His community service in Brooklyn had connected him with kids who faced real struggles: poverty, violence, broken families, limited opportunities. Working with them taught him that his platform could be used for something bigger than promoting conspiracy theories or complaining about vaccines. He started a foundation focused on education and youth development in Brooklyn. He used his social media presence to highlight community issues rather than personal grievances. Most importantly, he began speaking publicly about accountability, respect, and the lessons he had learned in Judge Hayes' courtroom. The letter he sent to Judge Hayes became public when he shared it on his social media. "Your Honor, I wanted you to know that the young man who stood in your courtroom 6 months ago and threw a tantrum over wearing a hat learned something that day that changed his life. You taught me that respect isn't about status or wealth. It's about character. It's about understanding that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves. I hope the way I've used my platform since then shows you that your lessons didn't fall on deaf ears. Thank you for caring enough about my character to hold me accountable when no one else would." Judge Hayes kept that letter on her desk as a reminder that sometimes, even in the most challenging cases, justice could lead to genuine transformation. The story of Kyrie Irving versus Judge Patricia Hayes became a case study in law schools, business schools, and ethics courses across the country. It demonstrated that true justice isn't about punishment. It's about creating opportunities for growth and accountability. But perhaps most importantly, it proved that in a world where wealth and fame often shield people from consequences, there are still places where character matters more than celebrity status. In Judge Hayes' courtroom, everyone stands equal before the law. And sometimes that equality is exactly what people need to discover who they really are. Today, When young athletes ask Kyrie Irving about handling pressure and criticism, he tells them about the day he learned the difference between being famous and being respected. Fame is what other people think about you, he says. Respect is what you think about yourself when you look in the mirror. And the only way to earn real respect is to understand that you're not above the rules that apply to everyone else. The story of that Brooklyn courtroom serves as a reminder that accountability isn't the enemy of success. It's what transforms success into significance. And sometimes, the most important victories happen not on the basketball court, but in moments when you choose character over comfort, growth over grievance, and responsibility over entitlement. Judge Patricia Hayes continues to serve in Brooklyn criminal court, treating every defendant with the same standard of justice. Her reputation as the equalizer has only grown stronger, and her courtroom remains a place where money can't buy special treatment and fame doesn't grant immunity from consequences. Because at the end of the day, justice isn't about who you are or what you've accomplished. It's about who you choose to be when no one is watching, and who you become when someone finally holds you accountable for your choices.